Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another fun episode on She Rises, Amplify, and Thrive Live Speakers Series. As all of you know, I'm your host, Kelly Boyer. I am also the founder of She Rises and the She Rises Foundation, where I also mentor women through my mystery school teachings and my clarity method. And I am super excited to have everyone here, especially our guest speaker today because it's all about us rising each other up into our feminine leadership, which is really the heart of She Rises. And we have amazing speakers here, especially with Baljit today, where we are going to talk about some fun stuff. So Baljit is a certified sexologist and intuitive mentor where she helps others unlock purpose by reconnecting to their sexual power, which is going to be so cool today. I cannot wait. And today we're going to be talking about the sacred power of sexual energy, from shame to sacred strength, how reclaiming sexual energy can help heal shame, reclaim self-worth, and step into greater authenticity. And I'm going to tell you, I don't feel like I do feel like this topic is oh, it's going to be so good for She Rises. And I'm so sorry. I don't know why I can't talk today, but
Just excitement.
it's so true. I get so excited to do this because
Yeah.
everyone that comes on is so amazing. So, all right, everyone. So settle in, open up your heart, and we are going to dive right in. Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited about this topic because I feel like it's really important in women connecting to their own feminine power. And I think it's something that we often don't think about when we're thinking about our feminine power and our feminine leadership. So, if you don't mind, would you like to share in more detail about who you are, what it is that you do, and then we'll dive right into how sexual energy can help us really step into just being who we are.
Who am I and what do I do? Yeah. So as you know, certified sexologist. I'm also a Tibetan Tantra practitioner, Akashic record consultant, and also DJ producer. So I started off actually in a background in architecture and left that entire past life to do this work. But it all started off with like life purpose work through the Akashic records, and through that, that's where sexual energy just became a topic. And then moving forward, that's where I needed to go deeper and became a board certified sexologist and a Tibetan Tantra practitioner because I saw the parallels of our purpose, but also within our sexual energy. And I always used to say, like, whatever happens in the bedroom happens in business. And so that's where the DJing came in and music production as well, because all that creativity just got lit. Something just got awakened. And I feel like as women are very multi-dimensional beings that we can do so many things. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here and to share some wisdom and insight for everyone.
Oh, I love it. Yes. You had just said it, but I was going to ask you, because when we do reach into that sexual energy, like there's just so much creative energy just ready to be birthed. So, I was going to ask if that's how becoming like a DJ and a producer all came about. So,
Yeah, yeah, it
is
totally did. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that it's so cool. So oftentimes people when we talk about sexual energy, they think it's just only connected to desire and like your libido. But it
Yeah.
goes way beyond that. Would you like to kind of talk about and share about it going beyond just, I'm going to say kind of, I don't want to say the surface level, but I feel like it's kind of like the first layer and then we kind of miss everything that's all the cool stuff in the
Yeah.
back layer.
Yeah. I mean, the byproduct of like desire, the byproduct of actual sex or just feeling sexual really comes from actually cultivating and connecting with their sexual energy. And also, people can be having sex and be sexual, but it doesn't mean that they're actually connected to their sexual energy. They could actually be misdirecting it if they're repressing this deeper part of themselves. And so, what I mean about sexual energy is your creative life force. And it is this deepest level that is connected to our truth of who we really are. It's where we feel like really seen, where we feel really heard. It's where we can feel comfortable in our bodies and feel safe. So, if you think about it, we come from the act of sex. We are made of sexual energy, and this gets dismissed a lot. And it's through all kinds of programming that has repressed this concept of us like really connecting to our sexual energy. I feel like on so many levels, we have had that siphoned and repressed through different levels of programming. And when we're able to unravel that and connect back to the actual universal truth of what sexual energy is versus what the programming has been, we then connect to our innate truth. We really drop into our womb space. And there's, I want to say less doing and more being, but this how you navigate your energy as well is like there's no levels of feeling like a threat to others. There's no competition. It goes back to She Rises, right? It's like being able to lift each other up as well. And yeah, it's a very profound, deep energy. And then the byproduct is you activate that passion, you activate that desire. The libido rises because there's no stuck energy, there's no stuck sexual energy. Your hormones are balanced, there's no perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. Like everything is just moving and grooving, and it's all to do with sexual energy. And when we start to see that everything is related to our sexual energy, even like with money, even our friendships, um, then we can really look at this in a more holistic perspective of how, like how sexual energy just relates to our life and who we are.
Oh, I love that. So as you're talking about that, because it's like the way that I'm seeing it is that it really does open up everything, right? Of everything that we're needing and how we really connect. I'm going to say even to the bigger part of the universe, to like the cosmos, right? Because as you're talking about, I can feel that energy. So I actually have a couple of questions that about that because especially as it relates to society, and I may be wrong, so correct me if I am.
Mm.
I am going to say, in my experience, it's like the way that society sees it is like sexual energy is really good for men, but when women step into their sexual energy, it's almost like we have to feel ashamed to to number one be sexual, be ashamed to have that energy just to be who we are. And it's created so much trauma where I feel like, and I'm going to tell you, I'm speaking out of my own experience where like I've had so much trauma in that like I do feel like I feel like my door is closed. It's got like the caution tape, like do not enter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And so how do we like what are ways to like undo that trauma? Like
yeah,
honestly, what is the first step of saying
yeah,
this is how I want to undo that? Because I think that's might be the hardest step.
yeah. And that's such a great question. I feel like first thing is understanding where that programming comes from. Like it can come from not just societal programming of like the gender roles of a male and a female, or like the archetypal roles of a man and a woman, but it also comes from cultural programming as well. It's from religious programming around sexual energy and sex. It can even be transgenerational programming, parental programming. There's all these different factors where that can arise, where all of a sudden it's like, it's shameful for women to, have these desires or even to connect to this energy and be visible and create. For me, for example, I came from at the time, a very strict East Indian upbringing. And so women in general, just as like South Asian women, have been so repressed, and there's been such a role with genders of like the men being okay to, do whatever they want, but the women can't really be free and liberated. So I feel it's like an overall theme that has happened through cultural programming, societal, governmental, religious programming, transgenerational, parental, and even with societal, even like stuff that we learned in school, what we learned through the entertainment industry as well. We get embedded with so much subliminal programming, and also I call it like thought implants from like, maybe our parents or elders, where we literally start to feel this way. And then added to it, if you've been sexually violated as well, whether it's physically, energetically, or emotionally, it doesn't matter. It literally can create this layer of shame in the body. And so first thing first is being able to identify like where does that shame come from? And like, it's like, what are the memories that are coming up and who are you speaking to? For a lot of people, they do remember, or sometimes, depending on if there was some major trauma, like I've dealt with clients that totally blocked it out. Like they don't remember, but they know it's there. And that's
Yeah.
like really deep, because then we have to go very, we have to be very gentle, because it's this unraveling of something that, of not wanting to see something out of safety, but allowing the nervous system to rewire and feel safe again and let that programming go. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I've worked in like public safety and like
Mhm.
I'm like
Wow,
trauma informed care,
love
crisis and all
that.
of that. So and as we were talking about this, like it makes me think about that, especially men and women who have both been sexually violated. Um, I think I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what you said. Oftentimes, especially if somebody has been sexually violated, it used to be that law enforcement would go in and they would ask all these questions, and then the victim couldn't answer them because they couldn't remember them, and then they would drop the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not that way anymore, anyone. I'm totally like doing some advocacy for this here, because now we've learned that, like, as you said, the mind communicates with the body and the body shuts it off because the trauma can be so overwhelming. It literally can shock the nervous system and the person can die from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful in the way that you talked about it being that delicate process of I kind of want to
Mhm.
say untangling that
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. 100%, because there has to be like a soul's readiness to finally receive information on that. So I'm always like mindful of like of, I always share what the person's ready to hear, because it'll just come through me.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, work with gentle layers if there's a blocked out memory, because it is uh, a needed protection mechanism for someone if they've gone through that. So yeah, I totally agree with you that having that gentle assistant to unravel is very much required.
And I think it's beautiful that this is what your gift is in, because um I'm going to say, speaking again from experience, I can only speak from experience, so
Love it.
but like, even like I've been sexually violated many times. I don't think there's any reason to like not share that, because I want people to know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
But I think it's beautiful what you do, because you have that gentle understanding about it, where I'm going to tell you, I've gone to several therapists where it was very inappropriately handled, and I walked out of there feeling victimized again.
Mm,
So, and I know that in that is that it's like closed me down more and more and more and more, where to the point where I was like, okay, I'm alone in this. How do I protect myself?
yeah.
Do you often find that being the case with? with more trauma. I'm going to say kind of
I
trauma induced.
Yeah, because I'm trauma informed as well, so I can always, and it's really cool working in the Akashic Records because then I can see what's going on dynamically when a client comes to see me, because then I already know that, sometimes on a subconscious level, they're like, oh, there's already this dynamic where I'm playing out their mom or whatever. It's like this projection and it's not conscious, it's very subconscious. It's like a transference. So,
Mhm.
um, part of that when it comes to dealing with like deep, deep trauma, like underneath it, what the person is really asking is, can I trust you? Can I
Mhm.
trust you to actually like, you know, be held? Because part of the violation too is being open. And so if 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 they've been sexually violated, there's going to be some guard that will come up, right? It's like, how can I trust you when I like let this guard down? And am I going to be okay? Am I gonna like, are you gonna have my back? Right?
Right?
And
Yeah.
so safety is very, very much important. That's why you gotta like work with the nervous system as well. And so I never push anyone, like, for example, like I teach vulva mapping and stuff like that, but I'll know it- and that's why when I do programs, I really work with what's catered to them. And sometimes they, really desire to have an orgasm by tomorrow. But I'm like, actually, what you really need is to build safety in your body. So your next few sessions is you and I are just going to breathe together because it's clear, and I know that you're not ready to do vulva mapping because your nervous system isn't wired yet to touch yourself,
Hmm.
right? So I feel like it's so important to work with the readiness. And this kind of goes back to the shame because, how you shared your experience, it's like it does leave like this residue of like, we can call it shame and whatever else of like, wow, that I didn't feel something like really shifted. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I feel like that's really important. And it also, for the client, it's also the readiness as well. Like it's like, am I ready to go deeper? And it's okay if you're not ready. It's okay if you're like, wow, I thought I could like move through this over 2 sessions, but I feel like I'm I'm hitting a wall. And we have to then also be gentle, like coming from a client perspective as well, like really being gentle with yourself in the process. Because if something happened to you, it's not an overnight thing. Like this has been embedded for so long. That takes time and it takes care.
Yes. I'm like, I do agree with everything that you've just said. There was a piece in there that you talked about with trust, right? And you're right. I do feel like the underlining thing is, can I trust you? But I also feel like it kind of boomerangs back because that, like, when you go to work with somebody, it's like, can I trust myself in the person that
Mm, hmm.
that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember questioning that myself because first of all, like you said, it comes with all like you do feel shameful, you do feel guilty, like you
Mm,
feel like in working with sexually assaulted victims, they're just like, I'm dirty, I just feel dirty, and then, you go to somebody and you're saying, can I trust them? But I think it even goes a little bit deeper of saying, can I really trust myself again to find someone to support me. Does that
yeah, and it's
make sense?
exactly, and you're going into that piece of vulnerability where it's like you're meeting that trauma. So it's like um that openness of like when you're like, so it's like going back to the trauma, but it's also like the last time it was like, when's the last time you were that open? And so if there's a programming of the last time I was that open, this is what happened. It's also like healing that piece around like what you said around self-trust. I think that's like massive. Yeah.
Yeah, because as we're talking about this, I'm like, I can feel it coming back up again. I was like, oh, like that's really when I was sitting in there going, oh my gosh, I can't trust this person. And I walked out going, I just can't trust myself. Like
Wow.
in the decision,
Yeah.
in making just decisions of like, of just honestly of being able to trust anyone because I feel like that's what it starts. That's really where it starts to lead, right?
Mhm.
I can't trust, picking the right partner. I can't trust picking the right person
Yeah.
to support me. I can't, do you know what I'm
A
saying?
100%. It's so funny. I was reflecting on this self-trust thing. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I'm still like been reflecting on that. But I feel like it's like when you can, I was literally writing a newsletter about it and I haven't finished it. So it was like about self-trust, but it was this thing about you can't really shift energy till you actually have trust in yourself to shift it. And that goes back to the readiness. Um, because if you don't trust yourself, it's like it doesn't matter how much, like how many coaches you go to, how many healers you go to, there's always going to be this element where there's a deflection or distraction or avoidance around allowing that integration to happen, because it really comes back to self-trust. And when you do integrate these pieces of self-trust, it it then reflects back to being able to trust someone else and supporting you, but matches that energy. You know what I mean? And I always believe that people are kind of like mirrors sometimes when that energetic happens. I feel like that is such a deep, deep piece. I love how you just took us right there.
Sorry. I'm
I
like,
love it.
I love to go deep.
I know.
Like,
I was like, deep and have fun. This is where I'm at.
yes.
Yeah. And it totally relates to, everything that we're talking about for sure. And
Yeah.
that is sexual energy. That is, you know, when we really trust our existence, right?
Yeah.
Then we're pretty much unfuckable. Like it's and this is what's so fascinating when someone is being, like yourself, or I mean, I've been violated before, but being sexually violated, and you're literally, it's that very same energy where it's like, well, am I a threat? Am I, do I trust myself if I am visible, and like, am I going to be safe? And having to rebuild that and restore that is massive.
Yeah, and it does. It takes time because that's a I think what we're talking about is one of it I say is one, but I keep hearing is the deepest wound that we can truly have, that where it comes down to just being raw about who we are. Because when we think about, and this again, my opinion, so please feel free to interject.
No.
When we think about source is just so raw and out there. And like, I feel like that's the beauty of it when you really connect into it. And when we don't have that piece, I feel like there is a pretty big disconnection to
Yeah.
source. And I think that what happens is then we start searching for, and it does end up kind of being outside of ourselves. We start searching for all these things to find that connection. What comes to mind for me is overworking. I've been using the last several weeks is I just want to be useful. Like I want to be useful and I want to find meaning. But as we're having this conversation, I'm starting to connect some dots here.
Yeah, and
You know
that
what I
goes
mean?
back to where I love that you shared that, because that also goes back into, what happens when we kind of fall into those patterns, and it's like, oh, we end up outsourcing um to feel validated, right? Versus like having that direct connection to source. It's like we can outsource it through like overworking, we can outsource it. It's like a dopamine hit, we can outsource it by scrolling on Instagram and, overgiving. Like it gets, that's where it's like, I call it sexual energy just gets misdirected because we're like avoiding it at all costs. It's like, oh, I don't trust it. I'm not going to connect with it. So I'm going to find ways to just like misdirect it over here. I'll just focus on the kids and that's it. Or I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go that way. But I'm not going to focus here, like down there and here. It's like, so definitely, I feel like you hit the nail on the head of like how that energy can be, we don't think about how we outsource it, versus actually coming back in and learning how to really connect with our sexual energy, which to me is how you connect to source as well. It's like ever since I started doing this work and deepening and connecting with my sexual energy, like I was already doing Akashic Records before, but this is like a whole nother level. It's like your intuition is even more on point and there's more confidence and security. Your vocals, like your expression becomes more clear. Like I was a person that was a people pleaser. I would always fawn, and so I'd always repress what I had to say. And so much has shifted where it's like I've been able to like fully express myself as well, versus, outsourcing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, I feel now that it's conversation, I'm like the queen of outsourcing. Like, when it comes to that, I'm like, what else can I do that isn't about me? And I ran into that a lot when I gave birth to my son. For me, there was like a lot of shame and trauma around that. For the record, I wouldn't do it anything different because he is the
Yeah.
best thing that ever happened to me. But there was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt.
Mhm.
A lot also like a lot of anger and like disappointment. So when he was born, I remember well, 20 years ago saying to
Wow.
myself, I'm just going to throw everything that I have into him because I want him to grow up to be a good human.
Wow.
I was just talking to my friend about this morning that it's kind of like going through an identity crisis because now he's older, he's an adult, he's doing his college stuff and everything. And it's now I'm like, who am I? But I do feel like it's very connected to the topic that we're talking about because for 20 years, I'm going to tell you best avoidance thing right there is putting it into your kids. Not recommending it, but
Yeah.
like if
And then it's like once they go to college or they're out of the house, it's like, it's funny. I've been getting a lot of women who kids are like off now, like in their 20s and stuff. And they're like, they are going through an identity crisis and they realize it has to do with their sexual energy, but they're kind of like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I'm afraid to take action. I'm afraid to like I don't even know where to focus my energy now because I put so much into my kids and that's been like my priority that I forgot about myself and
yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. Yeah.
Yep. I'm all those words were exactly what I was saying. I'm like, where do you start? Do you
Yeah.
find that that's really common in most
Very,
women who have children?
very, very, very common. Especially like, you know, with this generation, our society, where the world is at, like I mean, yes, we have community, but I really believe like most of the community has been like online because there's so much that's been happening just around the world and just I would even say locally in our cities and towns and stuff. So, what a woman goes through in giving birth too. I've heard from women and worked with women where they shared in their sessions where they had a very traumatic birth and they were gaslit by the doctors. And then they felt alone postpartum because their husband was working a lot or um, the husband didn't know how to take care of them, and so they went through this major process of like um, of it really began right to when they got pregnant and that is such an initiation of birthing a child. And so when we think about the modern society of like the pre-care, the during care, the aftercare, there's not really much, you know? And I really truly feel like we're kind of coming back to the roots of it. Like I have worked with a lot of women that are now focused on womb care and really tending to meal trains and like making sure that after a woman, their friend gives a baby, that they are there, you know? And so then, you feel nourished, you feel seen, and then you notice that you can allow yourself to heal because it's such a healing experience when birthing a child. You just went from maiden to like, you're going into like motherhood. That is a massive identity shift. And
Mhm.
then you're a mom, but then all of a sudden you're going into, call it perimenopause or menopause. Like you start shifting and go through another identity shift. And then again, the way I feel that the medical system has really portrayed that is like, here, take some hormone replacement and you're good to go. And it's like hormone replacement therapy. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But we have to understand that this is a rites of passage. And if we don't understand that, we're going to miss the missing things that actually really initiates us, and this makes us even more connected to our sexual power and deepens our sexual energy, our connection, our orgasmic potential. We've been programmed to think that everything goes downhill as we get older, but actually everything goes up, like libido, everything. But it's the constant programming that we get, and then the pressure of being a mom, and so all of that, so much, like there's so many levels of stories that I hear from moms um, in this journey where they're either a single mom or with their partner, uh, because that bond that you have with your child, it is different than what the father has with their child. Um, and that's the child that birthed through you, whether it was through C-section or vaginally. Um, and I've dealt with women that were like, oh yeah, wasn't that traumatic. And then I hear, they totally bypassed it, but then I don't realize why they had to get their uterus taken out, and their cervix. And then they're like, oh yeah, I was just told, I had to get that taken out. And then we go back to the birth story that they had, and they're like, yeah, there was forceps put in and da 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 da. And I'm like, you almost died. What are you talking about? And then it just clues in. It's like, oh shit, like, yeah, or even like getting a pap smear or just something that was you think is so simple that can create trauma. So
Yeah.
I go really into that to have women think about the sacredness of our womb and restoring that energy. And I truly believe it's because it's like being raised in a modern society that we kind of disconnect from ourselves. We've been used to numbing ourselves. Like that's just how we've been programmed, right?
Mhm.
Like TV dinner style, but now it's like we're
So
now
true.
coming back to, home.
So I have to tell you, I've been like, again, my son is gone, so I've been doing a lot of like reflecting. And even when I think about of giving birth, I'm gonna tell you, I've been really about my womb. So
I
this is
love that.
yeah,
That's
like this has
perfect.
just been so perfect because in like full transparency, like I discovered a lot of like I've had a lot of trauma, like a lot of womb healing. I have a lot of womb healing that I need to do. Like I'm just
Mm,
putting it out there, women, like
mm,
don't be afraid to admit it. But
yeah.
when I'm kind of going back and like really kind of doing some deep work, I'm like, there's been some massive shit that has happened to me. But I also think about like birthing and like you said, I like my labor, the whole experience was very traumatic for me.
Mm,
And in fact, it was the thing that made me decide that I would never want to have kids again.
wow.
I'll say one, it was a big factor of probably a couple of little other things why I didn't want to,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like when I really think about the process itself, like it is I mean, and I don't want to scare women from having children. I don't think that this would, but in all reality, like the way that we give birth now compared to when I was kind of doing research about like going way back in the past and of birth, like yes, we have medical, yes, like we have people that are around us that can help us, but even like and I think I think this is part of a question too, but like even the way that we currently do it is not a natural way to give birth, and it creates even more complications where women can die giving birth. Like, so it's just, it kind of blows my mind that we went from, I'm going to say the old school way of giving birth that was actually very natural to now the way that we do it. Like my son got stuck and I had some woman beating on my stomach to get him out.
Wow.
Like it was that traumatic where like for days my entire abdomen and all of that was black and blue. Like it literally looked like somebody kicked me numerous times.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard of someone beating the child out,
Yes,
which is like metaphorically like yeah.
like it was insane. And so um I bring this up because I think that you're right. I think that we've become so programmed to think that women just go, they give birth, that's it, and now they become
Yeah.
moms, that there really is this
Mm.
initiation and sacred process to it that we have just
Yeah, I feel this goes back to the self-trust piece too, because I feel like we have been programmed so much to be dependent on, let's just say, the medical system. We need it, of course, when there's an emergency and stuff like that. That's great. But I feel like if we're so dependent on what the outside world is telling us, what our womb thinks and should do, we've already lost trust in our womb. We've
yeah.
already lost trust. And so part of this, we'll call it sexual sovereignty and connecting back to the sexual energy is actually like deeply listening. And like, again, like having someone punch your like gut, like it blows my mind, but it's just like, or just like your stomach to push the baby out. But it's like, how often do women silent themselves in that moment, whether they're drugged or not? It's like, um, and this is the piece that I get from a lot of women who have given birth medically is it's where they felt gaslit or they felt like they couldn't say anything. And then that left a massive trauma lock in their womb and their body, and they haven't been able to restore that till, till they started doing the work. But it's like that also goes back to where it's like when you're having a baby where you don't trust yourself because that baby amplifies that energy even more of
Uh-huh.
what's going on in the womb, right? And so, yeah, I definitely feel that definitely circles back to the self-trust thing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I could share so many stories about my labor. Sometimes when I share them, I'm like, I think that I am literally traumatizing the person that's in front of me. But I know that I'm like you mentioned, like I'm not the only one that has experienced that. And yes, you're absolutely right. We sit in silence
Yeah.
because we think, well, that's just how my labor was, like that maybe, and then you hear a woman who says, yeah, it took me like 3 pushes and like he was born, and you're like, you know. But I think that's part of like that, just that triggering process, right, of needing to heal. So,
Yeah.
so we talked a lot about trauma. Let's do a little bit of a shift. Let's talk about what do you see when women really do connect with that and they really do heal? Like what does that look like?
Well, good things start to happen. Um, First things first, like what's so fascinating is it's just this natural intuition of like what to take action on. It's like usually when someone wants to know their purpose and they want to connect to their sexual energy, they think there's going to be a play-by-play of like, steps of like what to do. But then once they start to connect back to it, it's this innate knowingness. It's like a deeper level of knowingness that they have of like, oh, this relationship needs to shift, or I'm actually complete with this friendship. This doesn't serve me anymore because I was playing out this old dynamic. So friendships can change, relationship dynamics can change and in a healthier way. whether you choose to stay or not. It's like things start to really move, but there's no grief, or there might be a minor grief in that, but it's also like this level of like liberation through it. So it's this liberation that just starts to happen of like, oh, I can just be me now. Um, and then it manifests into more of the tangible things of like writing a book or creating their business or, attracting the partnership that they've been wanting to call in for so long, and it just fell on their lap and they're like, oh shit, this is here. So it really varies for each of the women that I work with, but it's this level of like liberation that starts to arise for them and a deeper level of understanding what work perhaps of what they're still moving through as well. Like they have clarity in that and be like, oh, all this time I thought it was this, but it's actually really this. This makes sense. And then they can see how that some of that can relate to what, the work that they're meant to bring out into the world as well.
Mhm.
So and then also having amazing orgasms, like actually really deepening that level within themselves and cultivating that energy and expanding that and also feeling confident, feeling radiant, losing weight even, or just like because they're dropping the guard, they're dropping the protection mechanisms. The way that they eat is different too, because that's also part of misdirecting sexual energy. It can also go into food addiction, it can go into porn addiction. So the different habits of where a person would outsource will start to dissipate because you feel more, the woman feels more safe to just like be seen and do what they're meant to be doing. So, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, and I feel like that's all what is She Rises encompassing. It's just like it's just women being just who they are, just being women. Women, I'm like, we are beautiful and magnificent, and that's what we need to radiate every time. The moment that we wake up in the morning is to
Yeah,
just step into that just fully and freely and you know, I'm like, here I
100%.
am, world. And I think it's really beautiful work that you're doing because I don't think that I think it's I'm not gonna say that I don't think that it's something that women think about because they do. I think it's a lot of what women avoid doing.
100%.
Yeah.
No, the emails that I get are, I'll like have someone circling in like in my newsletter or whatever, and then finally a year later, months later, like, okay, I'm now ready, and I know I've been circling around this, and I know I need to face this, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And again, goes back to the right, or it's just like actually not connecting the dots of like, oh, you mean it's not just about sex, because you can have sex, but it doesn't mean it's good sex.
Mhm. It's true.
And some people think they're having good sex, but they don't realize that they're actually not having good sex. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And then when that gets activated, they're like, "Oh, you mean there's a whole other realm here?" And it also relates to how we show up in our lives and our purpose and all this stuff and creation. Oh my God, give me more. And it can be scary too, because it's like, "Oh, I'm opening up Pandora's box. Am I ready for this?" But it's so liberating. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like if I when you said scary, the scary thing that came up for me was like, oh my gosh, this is really who I am. Like,
Yeah.
this very powerful woman that is, that is inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, I love it. So I do want to because we do have an amazing person who showed up today for our
Yeah.
conversation. And Jen, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I do want to give you an opportunity if you have any questions or comments that you would like to share. You're more than welcome to come off mute. You can absolutely put them in chat, and I'm more than happy to share them in chat. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to us for you to be seen and heard as well. So we'll give you a few minutes to decide if you have anything. If not, we'll continue our conversation. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Jen. She said, thank you for being open and sharing this information. I have many women to share this with.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's beautiful, Jen. Thank you so much. And we're so glad that it's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the information that you've shared today because like I said, I think a lot of women avoid it.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, let's blow it open and talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm there with you.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like that's part
Yeah.
of just being a woman, and I think that's part of the beauty the that we possess, and it has been really like it has been shoved in the box and even further down, like absolutely squished to the bottom of the box, and
Hmm.
I
Yeah, and or it's like this again, it goes back to the shame to even talk about it as well, or think that no one else has the same thoughts, but they really do. And like,
yes.
it's like, I mean, I know because I hear it from all of my clients, and I'm like, some of them think they're the only ones that have this, you know, um, I don't like to say issue, but block or whatever. And I'm like, you're not the only one. Like, there's so many, and they're like, oh, um, and letting go of that fear about talking about it. And I feel like that's where the healing really begins, is being able to share stories, and even, share your story too. I think that's really massive because I know there's so many women that go through birth trauma as well. Like, that is massive, and then they disregard it as like, oh yeah, this happened and got poked and stitches and all this stuff, but I'm fine. And then all the patterns start happening.
Yeah, I'm like I was one of them. One of the things, oh, I'm so sorry, really quick before I make this comment.
Yeah.
Jen put another comment in there and she said, I took a long time to heal from not having control over my own deliveries of my children. Both births were scheduled on the doctor's time and not nature's
Nature
time.
time. Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that, Jen, because I've had friends that have had that too. And now that we're really diving into this conversation, yeah, that's very traumatic
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that literally taking the control away from you and your body. Wow. But you know what, Jen? I'm like, kudos to you for healing that and seeing
Yeah.
that and knowing that it needs to be healed. Because again, I think we oftentimes avoid that.
It's very interesting because scheduled deliveries are now more common, which is fascinating. And then again, it goes back to that self-trust of like trusting your own womb, of, naturally like knowing when it's time to deliver versus when someone else is telling you when to deliver. And then what's really isolating is when you, as a woman, which I've heard from like many women, where they felt isolated because they felt like no one had their back of what they were instinct, like what their gut was telling them and about their how it needs to be. And again, feeling gaslit even by family members of like not listening and being forced to have a C-section and stuff like that. And overriding their own intuition and trusting that, I think it could create a lot of trauma. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jen.
Yeah, it also reminds me of like a lot for me, and of course this was like 20 years ago, we had to put together our birthing plan. How do we want things? Like who do we want in the room? Like are we open to having a C-section? Do we want an epidural? And I
Mm.
remember when I sat down, I really thought about and felt into the things that I wanted. So when I got there, I'm going to tell you nothing in my birth plan was followed. Not one thing. And I remember as I'm going to tell you, as I'm laying in this room after giving birth, completely beat up and alone, I remember sitting there going, well, why did I even spend time on this when nobody even heard it or listened to it?
Mm.
So I know that has to happen to a lot of other women. I know that I can't, I know that I cannot be the only one that has happened to, but I want to say that's when it really hit me that like the whole, I'm going to say the whole labor and giving birth and the beauty that it was supposed to have. I remember saying to myself, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. But what I was really saying is I don't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's massive.
that's crazy. Yes. I'm like, wow, now I'm like revisiting all of these things, but it's just, it's like things to heal, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
Yeah, I love that.
so one of the questions that I was going to say is, and again, sorry that I keep using myself, but I don't know any other way to
No
describe this.
apology. I think this is perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, my entire pregnancy, I'm just gonna call it what it. My pregnancy was awful. I didn't have awful physical symptoms, but the emotional and mental, I'm gonna say anguish and abuse that I went through was
Mhm.
really was. I mean, I think I would have rather been beat up, to be honest. Like if I like, let's just call it what it is. But like going through that and then going through the labor process and then everything that happened that I had to go through after all of that. And then when I started really going in my own healing journey, one of the things that, I thought, like, I often think about, because I do believe that the world is kind of a mirror of things. Do I want to
Mhm.
go through that really badly? No, but but then I started
Mhm.
thinking about even before all of that had happened, these patterns that were created. And then I'm being really vulnerable right now.
No, it's beautiful.
And when it came to going back and revisiting that, I can tell you, and I still have it, is that might get a little emotional, sorry, is that I'm like, what, like, boy, like, number one, why did I allow that? Because I think that's part of the question leading up to that, right? But then I'm like, well, I allowed that. Do you know what I mean? So did I, like, and oftentimes I think, did I create that scenario? Is that what I created to have mirrored back at me?
It's also part of the trauma response too. It's like, you know, for example, if you were sexually violated younger, it's like, again, it can be like, let's just say numbness, right? And so when you're in these situations where it's like, why did I not say anything? And why did I not like go into fight or flight and like push the person away and tell them to fuck off,
Right?
and let me do it, because you're actually back in that whole situation of being violated and it just in a different way. So it repeats itself in a different dynamic.
Mhm.
So I've had women who actually who've mentioned stuff around birth, but then have been sexually violated, and they go back to even when they were sexually violated, and let's just say they were old enough to say yes or no, like they weren't like a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, right? Because at that age, you're still like, what's going on? Like you don't, unless your parents didn't tell you yes or no, it's like you don't know. You're like, no one's taught me this. But at a teenage years where it's like, your yeses or no, or you have an idea of it, and yet you were raped, and then I'll hear from a woman being like, I don't understand why I wasn't able to push him away. Like, I feel guilty. I feel shameful. And I'm like, actually, you were in your trauma response to protect yourself, because if you tried to go into fight or flight where you're fighting the person, which you can, that actually could have been more dangerous for you. So your body naturally went into shutdown mode so you wouldn't feel the pain. You had to dissociate.
Yes.
So when that's not dealt with afterwards, it's becomes a trauma lock. And then anything to do with penetration, you know what I mean? And stuff going inside. Same goes with birth. Same goes with how your mother gave birth to you. Like it's
Uh-huh.
like that whole concept of vulnerability of being so open. What happens is that that trauma lock happens again. It's like, why did I not say anything? Why, like, how did what, where was my voice in that? It's
Mhm.
because you revolted back to that, either inner child or that inner teenager that is playing out that same dynamic in a totally different way,
Mhm.
in a different situation.
Yes, yes. I'm like, you just that makes 100% sense to me of how of like I'm gonna say of the patterns that have happened, and even continuing after birth, the patterns that have continued to happen.
Yeah.
You know, oh. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom
Welcome.
and knowledge. Like, I think it's really important, really, really important for women to just reclaim, I'm gonna, reclaim their sexual and like their sexual power, their sexual energy.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm gonna say if there is somebody who I'm gonna say in my state that is like really starting to visit this, because like I said a couple weeks ago, like I had so much womb trauma come up that it was almost like so overwhelming I didn't even know what to do with it, to be
Mm,
honest. Um, like what would you recommend for I'm gonna say kind of like a first step or a starting point to just really kind of help move forward into just, reclaiming
yeah.
who they are?
Well, first step is awareness, so that's a good thing. The other thing too is being super gentle in the process as that awareness starts to come up. So I would recommend like journaling what's coming up for you, like even if it doesn't make sense, just to help, to help yourself kind of process what's arising for you or the dynamic that keeps arising. And again, everyone's so different. And I feel like after that, it's like asking for support, but going to the right kind of support that your intuition is guiding you. Now, this is where it can get tricky because if you are someone that fawns a lot, that's a people pleaser, or like has self-trust stuff, right? It's like you're coming up against that energy as well. So it's really important to work with someone that has that level of awareness of being trauma informed and also understanding, the energetics of transference and countertransference as well when working with the client, because I do feel like when you're going into these energies, the consultant has to know how to hold space to be able to go deeper versus um, trying to control the situation or whatever else that can actually make things worse. So definitely for someone, if you're like wait like finally waking up to this and you're like, oh, okay, where do I even begin? Gentleness is very much needed, and being like, give yourself permission to take it slow. It doesn't need to be like, you don't have to go on an ayahuasca retreat on the weekend, like you're good. Just let it slowly, if anything, that might even be worse because you're just like opening up a can of worms without, you'll know, I mean, maybe it would work for you, who knows, but it's like really trust your guidance where you're not pushing yourself, um, but also give yourself that grace of like, okay, I know I need to take a leap, and I'm going to give it like one step at a time. And this will guide me to what I need to do next. And it could be like your friend inviting you to a somatic dance class, and you're like, oh, I think I just need to like somatically move my body and breathe. And this is the way that I need to release and shift. Or maybe it's breath work. Um, Again, everyone's going to be so different with what is needed for them. For some people, I, I work with clients where it's like we've had to work with breath differently if they were violated and had stuff shoved into their mouth. So then they were dealing with that, right? So it's a whole other dynamic then. So everyone is very different and very unique, and that goes back to giving yourself grace, being gentle, and one step at a time, and you will know your readiness when it's time to receive support.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really good information for someone who may be a bit ambivalent on which side which side to go on. But
Mhm.
I think that's very good information. Thank you so much for sharing that. So you did want to do a womb activation? Is that I said that correctly? Okay. Would you still like to do that?
Yeah, I'll do a nice little gentle, quick womb activation just to kind of seal up the energies because I know we went super deep. So this will just kind of, it's like a hug in the womb. So
Okay.
awesome. So everyone just take a nice deep big breath in, and you can either be sitting up straight comfortably or you can lie down, whatever is comfortable for you. Definitely don't be operating any heavy machinery as well when listening to this. So if you're driving, maybe pull over or listen to this another time. And just taking another deep, big breath in, bringing all that energy from the headspace, grounding it down to the heart, down into the womb. And with your eyes closed, taking another deep, big breath in. Exhaling down into the womb, bringing more awareness to the womb. And I'm going to get you to visualize yourself walking down a golden pathway. And this golden pathway is leading you to your sacred womb temple. As you walk down this golden pathway, notice if there's any jagged edges or if it's smooth, if there's any obstacles. And if there are any obstacles, we're just going to set the intention that all interferences are transmuted across all spaces, all times, and all dimensions throughout all levels of consciousness, through every cell of your being. And then as you gently approach your sacred womb temple, you enter inside. Notice how it feels to be inside your sacred womb temple. Taking another deep, big breath in, grounding all that energy from the head space down into the womb space. You now walk to the center of your sacred womb temple and you see a beautiful treasure box. And this treasure box has a gift for you. And that gift is a message for you in regards to your sexual energy, your womb, your sacredness. When you're ready, you lift up the lid from the treasure box and you look inside. Notice what that gift is. You might see a person or a thing, an object, a word. It could be a metaphor. It could be just energy that you feel. And when you're ready, you invite that gift into your heart. Allowing yourself to embrace the gift. And asking this gift, what message do you have for me today? Take a moment to receive that message. And again, it could be just an energy, it could be a word, it could be a sentence. So, taking another deep, big breath in and asking this gift, what message do you have for me today? Breathing in that message and taking another deep, big breath in, allowing this to integrate. When you're ready, you take the lid to the treasure box and put it back on the treasure box. And you're ready to walk out of your sacred womb temple. And as you walk back out from the sacred womb temple, you walk back out onto that golden pathway. And with each step that you take, you are feeling lighter. You are feeling more connected to your sexual energy, your sexual power, your voice, your intuition, and your gifts. When you're ready, just slowly open up your eyes and just setting the intention that all your shifts and releases are done with love, with joy, with ease, and with so much grace. And so it is. Mm.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. I'm like, ooh, I'm on my message was so good.
I love it.
Yes. Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You are most welcome.
Ooh. Oh, so I've really enjoyed our time today. I've learned a lot today from you. So a huge thank you and gratitude from my heart because I know if I experience that, so many other women who watch this replay will also experience that. So thank you so much for taking the time to share that, to share who you are, because this I can feel that you're just very passionate about the work that you do and in helping women. So a
Thank
huge
you.
thank you. Uh,
Oh, most welcome. Thanks, Jen.
yes. Oh, thank you, Jen. So I do want to talk about the gift that you so generously have given for donation. Just to let everyone know, all of our speakers so kindly and generously provide gifts. They put them up for donation, and it's to work with them as well. And 100% of all those proceeds go to the She Rises Foundation. And the She Rises Foundation is all about honestly helping women really just embrace and step into their feminine leadership. And it's also to provide financial means for them. So what She Rises gifts is scholarships, loans, for women who want to step into being their own entrepreneurship. So startup money, if it's money to take a class or work with someone like Baljit, it's we can support you. And it also helps keep this platform going so that we can continue doing that. It helps with our mentors and our volunteers as well. So um, know that whatever you donate, it will go to good use and really help women. Just be the beautiful beings that they are. So, with all of that said, you have provided a beautiful donation gift, and your donation gift is the 60-minute energy activation through the Akashic records. Would you like to explain more of what they'll receive when they donate?
Yeah, this is a 60-minute energy activation. So we're kind of like in this Akashic space, similar to kind of what you experienced just a few minutes ago. But it's like a full hour. So you want to make sure you're just in an uninterrupted sacred space, lying down, or you could sit comfortably, closing your eyes, and just allow yourself to receive. So really go deep into deprogramming different misconceptions, beliefs, blocks. And it's a great tune up whenever you feel like your energy is stuck and or you've just had a day and you need that tune up. You can even play it in silent as well when you're going to bed or if you're just taking a nap. Just put on silent. You don't always have to hear my voice. Some people love hearing my voice. They say it co-regulates their nervous system. So go for it. But it can be, you can even have it on mute and still receive the energy. So setting that intention that you'll receive the energies no matter what, and you'll only receive exactly what you need to receive. And so through that, that's what's activating your gifts and talents because you're creating space in your womb, your body as well to be creative as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for your generous donation gift. I love it. I feel like I definitely need that. Like you have no idea. Like I have so many notes of stuff
I
and
love
circling that. It's thank you so much for all of that.
that.
But most importantly, thank you so much for being here and honestly just sharing your gift with everyone. I feel like this is such a powerful episode that I want every woman to watch it. I want every man to watch it too because I feel like it's very important for them to
Oh yeah, for everyone. Yeah.
yeah, for everyone. So
Yeah.
a huge thank you. I
Thank
really hope
you.
that you come back again to share more
Yeah.
of your wisdom. It would just be so awesome. So I'm always so grateful when speakers come on here and they share just share information because it's so I'm like information is power and then they get to choose what they want to do with it. So I love it. So much gratitude and a huge gratitude to you, Jen, showing up here today and to everybody else that will be watching the replay. Again, none of this is possible without all of you. And so each and every day I'm just so incredibly grateful. So thank you so much. Again, please come back and we will have another amazing speaker on Friday. So please stay tuned and yeah, come back again for sure. So thank you, everyone. So much love from my heart to all of yours. Thank you.